and welcome to Kel Knits. My name is Kelly and I'm an Aussie knitter living in Sydney, Australia. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I chat about my knitting, what I'm working on, and today I thought I would take some time to talk about my knitting plans for 2023 and what are the patterns that I want to work on this year. Before I begin though, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the Camaragal people who are the traditional owners of the land where I'm filming today, and I would like to pay my respects to their elders, both past, present, future and emerging. So on the weekend I did some organising and I tidied up my yarn stash. I'm feeling a little bit smug. I really quite strongly dislike clear plastic tubs, but they are incredibly functional, and actually as something to store my stash in, I can see what's in there. It feels organized now. I'm feeling pretty happy. I'm filming today from my spare room slash office slash guest bedroom, storeroom slash everything room. We live in an apartment, so being organized with things is really, really important. So I very briefly we'll go through how I've got it organized. It's so complex. Down the bottom is the chunky yarn and a few other bits and pieces. I've got some like macrame stuff in there. In the middle is more of my DK 8-ply, and the top is all 4-ply fingering weight. Whilst I was going through my stash, of course I was remembering all these beautiful yarns, and all of the yarns we buy with the intention of making something out of them, and then we move on to brighter, shinier things. So I was thinking about what was in my stash and all the beautiful patterns I want to knit them. So I thought, okay, it's the time of year when everyone's putting together a make 9, thinking about what they want to knit in the next 12 months. And I thought, well, maybe this is a good opportunity for me to actually put together a make 9, but make it based around yarn that I already have in stash, and that way I know I will get some of this yarn knitted up. Now last year I did a make 9 and it was more of a make 2 in the end, so I'm quite realistic about the fact that much as I have very high ambitions to get through all of these patterns, you know what, we're kind to ourselves, that if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Other things come along, but all of the patterns I'm going through today, I'm really excited about making, and I'm excited about the yarn. So here's my stash. It's a, judgment-free zone, because to some people, this is going to look huge. To other people, it maybe looks like barely anything. To me, it feels like, okay, that's enough, but I really don't want to bring in too much more until I've worked it down a little bit. And that's because there is a whole nother tub in front of me here. Because this top tub, I decided to put all the yarns for the patterns that I want to knit over the next 12 months, so that they're easily accessible and they'll sit up the top of this pile. So that's what I'm going to go through with you today. Okay, as I always like to do, below I will link information to all of the patterns, so that you can, if you like the look of them, and if you're anything like me, that's why I like to watch knitting podcasts to get different pattern ideas. So if you're interested in any of those patterns, you will see the links below as well. Of course, I always forget to do this part of the traditional YouTube video, but if you enjoy my video, please give it a like and a thumbs up, and subscribe if you'd like to see others. One day I will get back to normal knitting podcasts. But I'm kind of having fun doing the whole end of year wrap up, which was the last video that I put out, and now doing a bit of a review. Planning, sorry. Okay, I've got my laptop here next to me as well, so that I can keep track of the different patterns I'm planning on. And the first one I'm going to talk about is using this gorgeous black yarn, which I picked up when I was on holidays last year in London for a very, very brief whirlwind trip to London, and I went to Liberty, beautiful store, and I bought this West Yorkshire Spinners Exquisite 4-ply, and it's 80% Falkland wool, 20% silk, and it's black, and that's going to be a real pain to knit with in the dark, so I need to get this on the needles soon whilst it's still summer and nice and bright and light. But what I want to make with this stunning yarn is the Auspice by Mutch. It's a one skein shawl, and what I love about this shawl is it looks really lovely and very long. And I've made a couple of one skein shawls recently and I really enjoy them. It's a great project to have one beautiful skein of yarn and use it for one project, because we all have those single skeins, beautiful single skeins everywhere. But one of the challenges I found in terms of actually practically wearing those is that they just didn't have the length that I wanted, and this pattern does, so I'm really excited to make that. I am also, sorry, what was I going to say? I've completely forgotten. Oh, one of the reasons why I really want to make another one skein shawl, especially in this black yarn, is because I think it will be so versatile, particularly in the office. I'm sure lots of people's offices are very similar to mine, which is that they are cold. Even in the middle of summer, even on the hottest of hottest days, somehow in the office we can get really cold. And having something really small and light like this, but black, so it's corporate, looks professional, it will go with all my outfits, is going to come in handy a lot. So that's one pattern that I'm planning on making very soon. This is going to be one of my next cast-ons. But before then, I have another pattern which I am going to use this yarn for. It's already all wound up. I wound it up the other day and I swatched because I decided to sign up for a test knit, and I have this beautiful yarn, so why not? And this is the Louie and Lola Merino Silk Yak Fingering. So we are 60% superwash merino, 20% silk and 20% yak in the color Fuel, I think, from memory. It just looks so beautiful. I hope it's coming up nicely on camera as well. Okay, as an aside, if there's lots of cuts in this video, which I don't normally do, lots of edits, it's because apparently I am just more all over the place than normal. So anyway, but we're all good. We'll get there. I'll warm up in a little bit. So I've recently signed up for a test knit. I was lying in bed Monday night, should be going to sleep, but instead I'm scrolling on my phone through Instagram and I saw this test knit come up and I thought, oh, I have to do that. And I did quite a few test knits last year, but honestly I have less knitting time this year, so I had no intention to sign up to any more, but I couldn't resist. I put my name on the list and got selected. So I'm knitting the Frisky Leaves Tee by Karina, and it just looks gorgeous. So I'm really excited. I swatched last night. Hopefully maybe I can cast on tonight. We'll see how we go, but I'm very excited about that. The other pattern, the next one that we've got, let me pull out the yarn that I'm planning for this next one, is linen quill. We have two colors. Can you guess what the pattern might be? I'm sure anyone who watches any number of knitting podcasts can probably guess what you might do with two colors of knitting quill, and that is to make the half and half triangles wrap. Linen quill is by Purl Soho, and it's 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca and 15% linen. Lovely. And I want to make this half and half wrap for the same reason that I want to make that Auspice shawl, is to keep in my office. So I'll have the black Auspice for when I need a little bit of warmth, and I'll have this one when we hit winter and I need a lot more warmth. And I just love the idea of wrapping myself up in that. If it goes well, maybe I need to make a second one for at home, because the half and half triangles wrap is kind of like just a big beautiful blanket. I love the idea of it being a nice mindless knit that I can have on the needles probably for quite a long time until I get it finished. But the more of these that I see, the more that I want to knit them. So I have decided that these two beautiful colors, what are the colors called? I don't know. I will write them below because it's not written on here for me to find real easily. Yeah, and that's what I want to make with these. But I have more Purl Soho because I also bought this stunning color, hot pink. And with this one, I want to make the daily pullover, which is a lovely V-neck sweater by, it's a Purl Soho pattern that has been designed for this particular yarn, and it's by Paula Pereira. And I like a V-neck. You can see I'm wearing a V-neck today. This is my Rift by Jacqueline Sislak. I wish this was a little bit deeper, so I'll need to check out the pattern for the daily pullover as well to make sure the V is kind of, you know, we don't need anything plunging, but I want, if I'm gonna have a V-neck, I want it to be a decent V-neck. So that's what I've got all my linen quill ready for. After that, well, maybe not after that, these are really in no particular order, but my next pattern and yarn, I have all of this Double Sunday by Sandnes Garn here in the color 4034. I'll write on the screen if there's a name. And it's 100% merino wool. I bought it last year to maybe do a color work, and I just didn't love the colors that I got together. Just didn't inspire me in the end. So instead I've decided to use this by itself. So I don't think I have quite enough to make a full sweater. So instead I want to make the Rigmor tee by Petite knit. I just really think that looks so cute. I've had this one on my queue for a while. I think it looks adorable. It's going to be a woolen t-shirt, so time will tell how practical that will be. But I actually think I could get a bit of wear out of that in the kind of in-between seasons, spring and autumn, when you're going to put on a jacket. So you don't always necessarily want long sleeve, the bulk of a longer sleeve, but you want less bulk, so but still with the warmth. So having a woolen t-shirt and then having like a jacket or something over the top. In my head, it's going to work perfectly. We'll soon find out how that does work. I think my knits, I'm sorry if you follow my podcast, I'm sure sometimes they just seem very hit and miss, but I love the look of that pattern, and who doesn't love a petite knit pattern? She's a beautiful designer, so that's one I want to knit with that. Oh, okay. Next up, I've also had this yarn. I bought this to make a specific pattern, and that is the Botanic shawl by Stephen West. I love the look of this shawl, and I think it's going to look so nice in these colors. Let me try and hold them up for you. Apologies as well, I film on my camera, so I never quite, and I have it turned around so I can't see the screen, so I just kind of hope for the best when I hold things up that the camera focuses. Apologies if it doesn't. But what I have here is more Sandnes Garn, but this is the Sunday, not the double Sunday, so this is the fingering. And I have this Zauberball Crazy by, what are they called? Schoppel? I don't know, in the color Stonewashed. And they're going to work together, I think, really lovely for this shawl. Like, I wish this was the next one I was going to cast on. It probably won't be, but I really, really want to make this. I think it'll be a lot of fun to knit. I really enjoy his patterns. Some of them, yes, are a bit out there for me, but some of them I think are really gorgeous. So yeah, hopefully I'll get to this one. Well, I certainly plan to get to this one in 2023. How am I going? I can see I've got more in here, but I'm getting through it. Next, I have this Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the color Dark Cognac. I hope the color comes up. It's a very overcast day today, so we'll see. If you've watched my other podcasts, you've seen me say that I'm going to use this yarn for numerous different patterns, and it never happens. And I have a new pattern planned for it, and that is that I want to make the outline tee by Jessie Maid. I was not 100% sure about this pattern when I was looking at it as an option for this yarn, but when I looked at some of the other on Ravelry, where you can look at some of the other projects, I thought they looked really nice. And I looked at, there's been a number of people who have used the Pure Silk for this pattern, and I just thought it looked quite nice, and I think it would be a really nice boxy, light, airy t-shirt in the summer. So that's my plans for the Pure Silk. I'm going to use it. One day it's going to get used. I then have a bag of scraps. We've all got bags of knitting scraps everywhere. I think there's a full, no, that's not. It looks like a full ball. It's not a full ball. I have all sorts of things in here. I don't even know what's in here. These are all fingering weight scraps though. And what I would like to do is make the Simply Scrappy Cow by Helen Stewart with this one, which is just a really simple cow pattern that is she designed to use with all of your scraps. And I think that should be a lot of fun, and I think it will also be really practical. I always look at those lovely big blanket, scrappy blanket patterns, and I think, oh, maybe I should make one of those. I don't know, what are some of them called? Like, I think there's one called Cozy Memories and a few different types, but I don't know if I have the stamina to make a blanket. Maybe I should. Maybe I need to, my brother needs to have another baby, or someone I know needs to have another baby, and I'll make maybe a baby-sized blanket out of scraps or something. I love the idea of it, but yeah, I'm not quite up for it yet. But a cow I could do. So that's my plans for that. My last, because it has to be a make 9, because those are the rules. I didn't make them. I think somebody actually does run, I think make 9 actually does come from another podcaster who maybe runs like a yearly cow. And if I think about who it is, I will credit her below, but off the top of my head, I can't think of her name at the moment. But I have thought of 9 different patterns, but my last one isn't a knitting pattern. I've decided to do an embroidery pattern, and that is that I want to make the Florist by Clever Poppy. I bought a kit to make this pattern. I bought it last year, and I had it sent to my parents' house so that when we moved home from Germany, I thought I'm going to have all of this time, and so I need to have some lovely projects ready to go. And of course, I didn't even open it. But I think it's lovely, and I would really like to do some more embroidery this year. I learned embroidery for the first time last year in 2022 and made a couple of patterns, and I thought I was always really happy with it, and it was quite nice to have something other than knitting kind of ready to pick up when I wanted a little bit of a break, and yet I just haven't found the time to kind of start up a new project. So that's why I am including an embroidery pattern in my 2023 knitting / embroidery / making, whatever I feel like doing kind of plans. So those are all of my patterns. I would love to hear what you've got planned. Do you do a make 9, or do you like think about knitting plans? What are the patterns that you really, really want to make? I find it so interesting reading everybody's comments, and I am slowly catching up because I've got a little bit behind in terms of replying, but I am slowly catching up with that as well. Curious if you think it's a big stash or a little stash, but you know what? It's the right stash for me, and that's what matters. I hope wherever you are in the world, you're having a magnificent day, and I wish you lots of wonderful knitting time. Okay, take care. Bye.